welcome back to another one, you guys. If you're new to the channel, my name is Andrew with Younger Toyota in Hagerstown, Maryland. For more information on our inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. And so today we're in the brand new 2026 Toyota Land Cruiser because I personally love the design of this one. This thing is still a true off-road monster. Get 2 years or 25,000 miles complimentary maintenance then as well. So ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one. So having said that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so as you can imagine, there are a couple different trim levels for the 2026 Land Cruiser. You got the Land Cruiser 1958. That one starts at $57,200, which by the way is a $500 bump for the 2026 model year. And then you got the Land Cruiser, that is what the name of the trim level is, believe it or not, starting at $63,275. And that's actually the one we are in today. So regardless of the trim level that you go with, the power plant on the beast is going to be the same. Powering this one is a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 2 electric motors that puts out 326 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, 465 pound-feet of torque coming in at 1,700 RPM, power sent to all 4 wheels through a full-time 4-wheel drive system. That's pretty cool. Power sent to the ground through an 8-speed automatic. 0 to 60 time approximately 6.6 seconds. We'll test that out here in a second. MPG numbers then coming in at 22 in the city, 25 on the highway, taking premium unleaded fuel. And so before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in the Land Cruiser, I did want to mention to you guys the drive modes. So the way the drive modes work is all the buttons are located kind of just in front of the shifter and to the left there. You got the drive mode button. You press that down and then you turn the knob above it to the left and to the right to adjust the on-road driving modes. And then there's a button just behind that called MTS, Multi-Terrain Select. That's your off-road drive modes. And so Toyota gives you so many different modes for this thing. You got Eco, Normal, and Sport for the on-road stuff. And then for the off-road stuff, you got Auto, Dirt, Mud, and Deep Snow, ultimately adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity. So now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put the acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2026 Toyota Land Cruiser here up to speed. All right, found our straightaway. We are in sport driving mode in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my gosh. That feels good. That's better. Alright, shouldn't have any issues emerging onto the highway, but I said oh my gosh at the very beginning because there is a massive delay here. So turbo lag, obviously, and kind of expected that, but then I was like, maybe it won't have it because it's got dual electric motors paired up to that. But yeah, it still has it. So there is a little bit of a delay at the initial get up and go there, even in sport driving mode. But having said that, once you get higher up in the RPMs, you certainly shouldn't have any issues emerging onto the highway. I just wish it didn't have that delay, that's all. But plenty of power nonetheless. But to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. So up front, you will find 13.1-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 13.1-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, that comes in at a very impressive, actually, 117 feet as far as braking feel goes, since no one's behind us here. Definitely on the firmer side of things. Like, that is a massively firm braking feel. I guess that's expected for 117 feet, but I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of the braking feel in the Land Cruiser, so again, no issues there. Then touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get an independent double wishbone type front suspension. In the back, 4-link rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. You got crawl control though as well, so you can take this thing on the beach, perhaps maybe Assateague Island in Maryland, and put it in that little crawl control and just let the Land Cruiser do all the work for you. That's kind of cool. There's downhill assist control as well. There's center and rear locking differentials, so you can split the power 50-50 for improved traction if you wanted to do that. There's also an available stabilizer bar disconnect system to really increase the suspension flex as well. So that's what I'm saying. This is a true off-road vehicle with all of those suspension components available to you. That is absolutely insane. If you wanted to take this thing off-road, you certainly can. You might want to switch up the tires, perhaps. It's up to you, but it's definitely a possibility. This thing should do 100% perfectly fine, whether it be in the mud or the snow or the sand. So that's pretty cool. Overall, as far as ride quality goes, though, it's been perfectly fine in my short little test drive here today. So I'm definitely not having any issues. And as far as steering feel goes, that's something I love. It's definitely a nice heavy weight to the steering here in the Land Cruiser, so instantly points you in the direction that you want to go. I'm always a fan of a heavier steering feel, and that's definitely the case here in the Land Cruiser, so I like that. As far as cabin noise goes, this is the perfect test. We're going 53 miles per hour here, so I'll be quiet for a second. It's nice. I mean, there's a little bit of wind noise, but it's nothing that would bother me, so I personally don't have any issues there. Then taking a look at rear visibility, because of the shape of the Land Cruiser, you 100% should not have any issues with rear visibility there. And the other cool thing with rear visibility is that rear window actually opens up. I'll show you that a little bit more when we get to the exterior portion of this review. But I think that's always a super cool feature there. And then touching on forward visibility, rain sensing windshield wipers do come standard on both trim levels of the Land Cruiser. So whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you, so that's kind of convenient there. And a head-up display is optional if you wanted to go that route as well. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, guys. Let's now go find a cool spot next to the woods, and let's check out the exterior now of our brand new 2026 Toyota Land Cruiser. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2026 Toyota Land Cruiser, finished in black. Yes, that is the exact exterior color name. Very creative, Toyota, but as always, let's go ahead and start with where this thing is made. Taking a look at the VIN, first character is the letter J, indicating that the Land Cruiser is built and assembled in Japan, as it should be. But starting up front, of course, you got that Toyota Heritage front grille, a throwback to former days. LED headlights to the sides, they do come standard. To get circular lights though for the 1958, and then rectangular lights for the Land Cruiser. That's really the biggest difference that you immediately notice between the two trim levels, is the lighting style. So last year I did the 1958 trim level. This year I got the Land Cruiser trim level. I think I like the rectangular lights a little bit better, but they both look good either way. But LED daytime running lights do come standard. Get the automatic feature up there. You get automatic high beams for that lighting as well. So if you have your high beams on at night and it senses a vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams, and when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up the high beams for you there. LED fog lights do come standard, and you got to love them in yellow. I think it looks so dang good down there. Definitely a big fan of them. And then just below it all, there is a little bit of front skid plates underneath as well. And in case you were curious about the ground clearance, that comes in at 8 inches even. Nothing super special there. I think most Subarus do like 8.7, so 8 inches. It's okay though. It's more than most SUVs, but not quite as much as Subaru, but nonetheless, it's enough to get the job done. But that pretty much rounds out the front end of the Land Cruiser. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the side. And so now, since we are around to the side of this one, if you wanted roof rails, they do come standard on the Land Cruiser trim level that we have with us here today. Running boards for the Land Cruiser trim level as well. It's going to be optional in the 1958. Rear privacy glass does come standard either way. Taking a look then at the side mirrors, they are black power adjustable side mirrors. They will be heated with integrated turn signals actually as well. And then taking a look down at the wheel setup, 18-inch dark gray metallic alloys for the 1958 trim level, and then 18-inch matte gray alloys for our Land Cruiser that we have with us here today. But that pretty much rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the back. And so now, since we are around to the back of this one, all the way to the top, you got that shark fin antenna. Just below that, rear spoiler with the integrated brake light. Just below that, you got the rear window wiper. But like I said to you guys earlier, the coolest part about that rear glass is when you get up close to it, you see this little button. And if you press that little button, that's going to unlock it. Then you can just simply lift up underneath, and that's how the back glass is going to open up. So when you take this thing to Azteec Island, you put it in crawl control, you back this thing up to the beach, you can look out over the ocean with the rear window opened up. That is pretty stinking cool. Anyways, LED taillights do come standard on both trim levels of the Land Cruiser, of course. And then just below it all, you will find a single exhaust outlet. It is tucked away underneath, right next to the spare tire underneath there as well. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next then. As always, here is that exhaust clip. So now, since we are around to the back of the Land Cruiser here, when it comes to opening that rear lift gate, it is a manual lift gate for the 1958 trim, then a power lift gate for our Land Cruiser trim level that we have with us here today. There is a button on the key fob. There's a rubberized button, of course, on the liftgate itself then as well. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 37.5 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, of course, the rear seats do fold down. That's going to bump that up to 82.1 cubic feet. That's actually pretty impressive there. 120 volt power outlet back there, LED cargo lighting. There's some chrome plated tie down anchors back there as well. Then if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will actually find a little bit of in-floor storage, not a ton, but you know what? It's enough for like an ice scraper or something like that. So I do like that it's there for that reason. Also in the cargo area though, I almost forgot to mention, you got a couple USB charging ports back there actually as well. But then make your way up to the rear legroom. That comes in at 26.7 inches, which is not a ton on paper, but I am even 6 feet tall. I was able to fit back there, so it worked out for me. Rear center armrest with cup holders does come standard. You got a 12 volt power outlet back there as well. Dual rear USB charging ports, you gotta love that. And tri-zone climate control comes standard on the Land Cruiser, so the rear passengers actually have the opportunity to set their own temperature back there then as well. By the way, the ventilation is found on the ceiling of this thing, in case you were curious. But then making our way up to the front seats, manually adjustable cloth seats from the 1958. Heated front seats do come standard. Softex upholstery for our Land Cruiser trim that we have with us here today. Ventilated front seats also coming standard with the Land Cruiser trim, and then an 8-way power driver's seat with power lumbar, also standard with our Land Cruiser trim we have with us here today. But overall, as far as seat comfort goes, it was plenty fine. I didn't have any issues, so it definitely got the job done there. But then taking a look at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped. It is power adjustable for the Land Cruiser trim level only. And then you got that Toyota Heritage lettering spelled out front and center there. So I think that looks pretty good. So then make your way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key here. It is a Land Cruiser specific key. You got that lettering on the one side, but then when you flip it over, Toyota logo, you got lock, unlock, and that button to pop the rear liftgate there. But it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located kind of by the driver's right knee there. And so once started up, you're going to get a different gauge cluster dependent upon the trim level that you go with. So for the 1958, you're going to find a 7-inch digital screen, but for the Land Cruiser trim that you're looking at right now, this is a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. I think it looks pretty darn good. Now the customization isn't really there. There's not a ton of customization. It changes the color a little bit when you change the drive mode, but I would have loved to have seen a bit more customization. But I do love the graphics when you change the drive mode, especially the off-road driving modes. They look pretty darn cool, so I did like that. But tachometer is on your left, speedometer is on your right. You got your outside temperature, how many miles you have left until you hit empty, and there's a bunch of stuff you could scroll through up there as well, giving you things like your tire pressure information and a bunch of other stuff then as well. But now let's go ahead and make our way to overall interior quality here. A power moonroof is going to be optional on the Land Cruiser trim level, an option we have with us here today, so I thought that was pretty cool. LED interior lighting does come standard. Wireless phone charger is going to be optional on the Land Cruiser trim, another option we have with us here today. So let's look at it kind of just in front of the shifter there and the cup holders. Auto dimming rear view mirror with home look controls, that does come standard. That's for up to 3 different garage doors there. Tri-zone climate control, like I was mentioning, so driver, passenger, and rear passengers can all set their own individual temperatures there. I like this little texturized accent piece just above the passenger side glove box. I like our brown and black color combination actually as well. You don't see like this color brown seats too often, so I thought that looked pretty darn good. Just behind the shifter, you got your cup holders, like I said, and then within the center armrest, there's actually a decent amount of storage in there, so I do not mind that. There are some plastics I probably would have switched up, like just surrounding the cup holders here, but other than that, it's not too bad. I think they did a pretty darn good job. I wouldn't have an issue with it. But the one thing that's a little bit funky when it comes to the interior quality, which will kind of lead me into the tech here, is the volume knob. It's like its own thing right in between the gauges and the infotainment screen. It just looks a little awkward or weird or different, but I guess I would get used to it. But anyways, let's now check out that infotainment screen. So there's 2 different screens, by the way. An 8-inch color touchscreen display is going to come on that 1958 trim level, and then a 12.3-inch color touchscreen display is going to come on that Land Cruiser trim level. But Bluetooth and audio streaming either way, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Got your driving statistics you can check out up there if you wanted to, along with your radio information, of course. So when it comes to the sound systems, there's actually 3 of them. So 6 speakers is going to come on that 1958 68 trim level, 10 speakers for the Land Cruiser trim that we have with us here today. But then there's also an optional sound system, which is a 14 speaker JBL sound system that is optional only for the Land Cruiser trim. So having said that, we do have the 10 speaker sound system with us here today. So let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. It's actually pretty darn good. There was a ton of bass there. It was kind of rumbling the seat a little bit. Plenty of clarity as well. So honestly, 10 speakers, that's above average anyway, so that's a really good sound system for the Land Cruiser. But last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on that infotainment screen at least is when you do put this thing in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board. Gotta appreciate that 360-degree monitor there to the left as well, but that is going to lead us into safety. And so first thing I want to mention is the Land Cruiser has not yet been tested by IIHS. Maybe it has been by the time you watch this video, so feel free to check their website if you wanted to, but I can't give any information on not quite yet. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. Driver and passenger knee airbags up front as well. In the back you got latch, aka lower anchors to tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard, Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. That gives you a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, dynamic radar cruise control, lane departure alert, steering assist, lane tracing assist, road sign assist, proactive driving assist, a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert, and believe it or not, front and rear parking sensors coming standard then as well. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, I love the design of this thing, especially with it being all blacked out. I think this is the best look on the Land Cruiser, and I especially love those bright yellow fog lights down below. I think that is just a wonderful look on this thing. But off of the design, this thing is very off-road capable as well. You gotta admit, with all those different suspension components, I can't really test it out fully right now, but it is definitely a reputation that Toyota has been known for. So take their word for it there. Also, I love that that rear window opens up in the back. I would say the majority of SUVs do not give you that, so I think that's a pretty cool little feature that you don't see quite often. And so, but that is about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow Younger Toyota on social media stuff on the screen there. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button if you're into new car reviews and all of our fun YouTube shorts we put on our channel then as well. We do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and we will see you guys all in the next video. Bye.